Because last week your friend is recommend you your name to me. If any question I can ask you. Yes. Ah, who's Ryan? Or which Ryan? How many Ryan there? Okay. Sorry. Any Ryan? No. Okay. So now let us recap what we have discussed last week. Okay, last week actually is a brief introductory to software security only. Okay, so what is software security? Software security actually is to the terms now. Okay, is to prevent any unauthorized access. SSES. No, ACCESS. Sorry, unauthorized access. Okay, into our software system. Okay, so in order to harm, okay, to prevent them to harm or cause any negative effect into our system. Okay, and for our last week, we also discussed about software assurance, right? So what are the difference between, or what is the difference between software assurance and software security? Software assurance, the scope is wider. Software assurance is not only intended for security, it also intended, let's say, for example, reliability. Okay, the trustworthiness means that your system is safe and trusted to be used or not. Okay, the scope is wider than software security. And somehow, some more, we also discuss about we also discussed about the security life cycle. Okay, SDLC. Now, SDLC here is not stand for software development life cycle. It's a security life cycle. In another name is called secure development life cycle. Same thing. SDL, secure development life cycle, and security development cycle is the same. Understand? Okay. So some say SDL, some will say SDL, but mostly they will call it as a SDL lah. Let's say Microsoft will call it as a SDL. Okay. So same thing, secure development life cycle. Actually, this secure development life cycle actually is showing the phases. Okay. That how are we going to develop, implement, integrate security measures, features, okay, into our system in different stages. From requirement, threat modeling, design and development, testing until the deployment and what? And maintenance. Can you still remember? Cannot. Okay, what is the stage of SDL class? What is the stage of SDL? What are the overall stages? There are 5 stages, right? I mean, in common now, okay? Maybe it's different company, they may have different stages, but overall it's almost like that, okay? So we have a software requirement, right? Identify requirement, and then we have the threat modeling, we have the design, we have the testing, we have the maintenance and deployment. Each stage they may have different activity, okay, that may concern on the security and the threats. For example, requirement, then you may need to elicit those based on your security goals and the artifact. You may need to identify those possible threat lah. Understand? When you come to a threat modeling, this is the a cycle. Inside threat modeling, there are many phases or activities for us to identify, prioritize, categorize, okay, mitigate. I mean, mitigate means that you plan how are you going to mitigate, understand? Okay, and then validate what you have done, you have planned, is it effective or not? These are the threat modeling for security or the threat stuff. And then the design part, okay, you need to implement those security measures under your design, and also from there you also keep on looking at what are the possible security limitation in your design. And also in the testing wise, you have to test in terms of security, test for security. And also last phase is the maintenance and deployment. Maintenance means that after your system has been installed, then how are you going to ensure or help in mitigate the security? Maybe you can periodically update if there is any new virus pattern or any new attack, then you have to update so that you implement a new security or mitigation method lah, something like that. Okay, so these are roughly in the threat modeling. Someone is very excited lah. Okay, yes, can share your story ah. Okay, so now, yes, uh, okay, why suddenly so quiet one? Okay, so now, we in chapter one, we also discuss about the some of the threats lah. Let's say ransomware, worms, okay, the denial of service or distributed denial of service, IoT attack, okay, cyber threats, okay, and then worms, okay. Do you understand what is this? Okay, I hope that you can recall lah. And then we also introduce some model or methodology for the threat modeling, like Strike, okay, that we have, yeah, Strike, okay, and then we may have others, technique also, let's say for example, what is it? OTEF, is it? Okay, and then one is another what we call pasta, all these things, understand? Okay. So however, in your tutorial, one is asking you to compare three the try, the strike, and the OTEF. Okay. So hopefully you can understand it now. Strike, I guess I better open back the chapter one. Otherwise you don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so security synchronization. Hold on. This one type of threat model. Okay, you may have the OTEF, strike, and pastel, try, and so on. Okay, and then so in your tutorial, it's just concerned on the strike. Okay, strike actually this model is technical focus lah. Okay, technical focus on the how many tracks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 tracks. Actually, this strike is the combination of the first letter of the 6 tracks. Just as S is stand for spoofing. T is stand for tampering. Tampering, okay. R is stand for repetition. I is stand for information disclosure. E is denial of services. E is elevation of the privilege. Understand? Okay. I guess this is the tutorial you cover. Any question about this one? Okay. And then for this OTEF is more on risk focus. Understand? Risk focus means that it not only focus on this technical threat, it also in terms of operational one. Okay. And for the try, not pasta, try this one is open project, open source. Understand? Okay, it's the extent from this drive is open source. Okay, but it's also on the risk focus, risk based. Okay, so these are the differences now. And last week, in terms of lecture, we also came across mismanagement. Okay, mismanagement, and then what else? That's it. Okay, this is what we have covered in our chapter 1. Okay. Then I guess after our recap, all of the students is here already. Now we come to chapter 2. This chapter 2 is more on the side of requirement engineering. Okay. So what is requirement engineering class? After you study the subject requirement engineering, Ryan, Oh, Ryan, please raise your hand. Yes, Ryan. See, Ryan not here. Ryan not here. I guess next week you need to bring your name list here already. You need to print out your name list already. Okay, so what is requirement engineering? Alvin. No, Alvin, where got Alvin one ma? One Alvin only. Yes, where is Alvin? No Alvin. Oh, got Alvin one. No. Okay, what is requirement engineering? Anyone can answer. What is requirement engineering? Yes. What is the requirement engineering? Yes, what is requirement engineering? Software engineering student. Okay, this side. This side. Row. Hold on. This side, okay, my left hand side. Last row, yes, brother, very head one. Okay, what is requirement engineering? Requirement engineering is the process of engineer the requirement. Okay, so it's the process of what? What is requirement engineering? What is requirement engineering? Is to apply various techniques to gather, identify, elicit, okay, and to produce your requirement for the particular system, right? Isn't it? Okay. So therefore, when we want to implement security features, we consider on the security features. Definitely security, okay, is a non-functional requirement. Understand? Okay, most of the time, okay, security is a non-functional requirement. So it focuses on the three major property of characteristic of the system. What are the three major properties? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Remember the triangle, when you study intro to security, we should draw out the triangle for you one. Understand? Okay? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Okay? So when you want to implement the security features or measure in your system, okay, we always do not wait until the system is completed, then you go and implement. It's too late already, understand? Somehow when your system is completed, then it's very difficult for you to change your system structure. Okay, so therefore, when you want to implement your security features, okay, you want to know what kind of security features or measure you need, okay, then you better start with the earlier stage, okay, which is the requirement engineering stage. Okay, so therefore in our what chapter today, okay, is security software, okay, during the re-engineering process, software requirement re-engineering process. Understand? Okay. So remember, okay, when you want to implement security, okay, or want to consider the security, do not wait until the software is completed because it's too late already. You have to start early as possible as together with the development stages. Okay. Now, continue. Okay. So therefore, it is very important that you need to gather the security requirement. Understand? You need to gather the security requirement. Okay. So And then in gathering a security requirement, it's not easy. It's never an easy activity. Why? Because you somehow think one thing is that the user may not know, okay, in depth, okay, what kind of security measure that the system should have. They only know I need password, I need login, that's it. Don't allow people to hack my system like that. Understand? Okay? Because they are not technical people. Okay? So then in order to another thing is that you want to gather the security requirement. It's not every requirement you have to gather, you need to identify, but however, it's not so possible to fulfill all the security requirement. Understand? Okay? So maybe that's why you need to categorize and prioritize the security. Understand? Okay, which one you must fulfill, which one you no need to fulfill. You can just okay, let it like that Okay, it may not, this kind of issue may not harm your system one. Okay, even don't have any effect to your system. Okay, so now today we are going to have a special methodology, approach, method or model. Okay, which is can be used in gathering the security requirement. Understand? So which is called the SQUARE model. Security quality requirement engineering. This model actually is from the CERT program in the Carnegie Mellon. Understand? Carnegie Mellon. Okay. So this model they have 9 steps. 9 steps. Understand? Which guiding us in performing, gathering, okay, identifying, okay, the required security requirement during our software development. Understand? Okay. This SQUARE model can be incorporated into waterfall model and can be incorporated also in the spiral model and also in the agile. Okay, but however, we're not talking about spiral model in this chapter. Okay, they're just talking about integration of this what we call SQUARE model into the waterfall and also integrating the SQUARE model in the agile. Agile got many agile one, okay. But agile here we mentioned is the SDM. Understand? Okay. In the later of this slide lah. Okay. So now let us start our lecture now. Okay, SQUARE model. Okay. Now, before we know how to we want to discuss how to integrate. We must know what is SQUARE model first. Okay, as I said just now, SQUARE model actually is from a CERT program in the Carnegie Mellon. Okay, which consists of 9 steps. 9 steps are helping us or guiding us in getting or identifying the security requirement. Understand? Okay, so in this slide here, you can see that this is some introduction on the SQUARE lah. Okay, so this SQUARE model encourages the collaboration. Okay, in the team member. Who is the team member? The engineer, requirement engineer, the stakeholder. Okay, so you need to have collaboration, encourage. Okay, so look at this one, class. Look at the second paragraph here. SQUARE is implemented, stakeholder can expect it to lead to the identification, documentation, and assessment on the security requirement. Okay, throughout the 9 steps, okay, as I said, he guiding us to identify, okay, prioritize, categorize, document it, and assess the security requirement. Okay. Okay, so SQUARE methodology start with the requirement engineering team and the project stakeholder agreeing on the technical definition. Now, class, for this slide here, even though have four sentences, okay, actually this one described in a very brief, general way, okay, on what are the steps in the SQUARE. Understand? First, you must agree on the definition among the stakeholder. What I mean by agree on the definition among the stakeholder is because in IT, okay, there are many terms has more than one meaning. Okay, in order to reduce the confusion, Okay, means that encourage everyone speak the same or thinking the same thing. Okay, so you have to define the terms. Okay, means that let's say for example, I say okay, artifact. What do you mean by artifact here? Understand? Okay, so everyone must based on what is stated there. Okay, document up the definition for every single terms that you have met. Understand? Then you need to understand the business case lah. Okay, and the security goal. Okay, after that you have to document it up. Okay, and then you may need to perform some risk assessment. Risk assessment means that you have the security goals, you have the documentation, then you have already identified the threats to the threats already. Okay, then you have to go for the risk assessment. Means that prioritize, categorize the risk. Understand? As I said just now, we are not able to mitigate all the risks. Okay, it's not possible one. One of the reason is because it requires a lot of resources and effort. Understand? Another thing is some security requirement okay, may not be how to say need to be put effort to mitigate it one because the impact is very small. Understand? So then after that, okay, okay, so you need to decide what kind of, because you have the track already, what you concern on the track. Then you have to gather the requirement. Decide what kind of requirement gathering techniques, okay, that you need to use to gather the security requirement. Okay, after that, okay, then you have to identify it. Now you got the requirement. This one is also belongs to the risk management, assess the risk. Okay, as I said, categorize, prioritize the requirement. Okay, and then you have to inspect. Okay, inspect that all these what the requirement is necessary, is it correct or not? What you have gathered is accurate or not? Understand? So these four sentences, okay, explain the stages or the steps of square in very general, very short one. Understand? Then you may have a look. This screen capture snapshot is showing the 9 steps of square. It's showing the 9 steps of square. Okay. Hello. Hello. In order to maintain the the peacefulness of the lecture hall, okay, I think I keep quiet until the end of the class. Okay, so now let us have a look on the 9 steps on the square. I guess I need to zoom in because it's very small. Okay, so step 1. Okay, step 1. Ryan. Hey, last week who recommend me to call Ryan one? Not Miss Bhavani, yeah. Some of the tutorial group, yes. I'm not there, not here today. Okay, they highly recommend me, please call Ryan if you have any question. Yes. Huh? Who is the person? Never mind. Okay, now we look at the step 1. Agree on definition. Okay, the step 1 means just now as okay. The input is the candidate definition from IEEE or other standard. What you mean by definition? The terms used. The terms that you're going to use in your development. Okay, so make sure all the stakeholder or the developer understand. Okay, accurately what is mean by this term. As I said just now, some terms may have different meaning. Understand? Okay, so agree with the definition. Then the input is the definition, the terms. Understand? Technique, you may have structured interview, focus group, okay, discuss together, okay, what is this, okay, to agree on actually this term is referred to what, understand, in your project. And then participant, stakeholder requirement team, output the agreed definition. The agreed definition, definitely you have to document it up, understand? Okay, so this is the step one. After that, then you need to establish or identify your security goal. There are many goals. Maybe you have a main goal and then lead to the sub goals. Understand? Okay. So in this stage, the input is the definition, the candidate goal, the business drivers, okay, policy and procedure, and example or another example. Okay. So these are the inputs. Okay, business drivers. And this business driver is not the car driver, understand? Okay, so maybe it's those factors or those people okay that lead the way on the direction of the business one. Understand? Okay, so these are the input, and then what is the technique? Because you need to identify the security goals now. There are many security goals one. Understand? Okay, so have some may be the sub goals, some may be some and then I guess you should have one main goal lah. Understand? And then from this main goal, you have those sub goals. You achieve all these sub goals, then it's most probably you already achieve the main goal. You see, understand? It's just like your main requirement and sub requirement. You get me? Understand? Okay. So the technique used is okay, facilitate working session, survey, interview for you to gather, understand the facts, and then identify all the necessary goals here. Participant, stakeholder, and requirement engineer. Output is the goal lah. Okay, it's the goal lah. Okay, output is the goal lah. Okay, so now step 3. Develop artifacts to support security requirement definition. Okay, now because you have your security requirement definition already, the goals okay, then you need to develop. If you have existing one, then you can use the existing one refer to existing one If you some system may not have existing one, then you may need to refer back to the necessary stakeholder. Okay, maybe you request them, request them to create those artifacts. Let's say for example the diagram the case scenario understand? Okay, forms template okay. From there, okay, you from all this, okay, is for you to support the security requirement definition. Understand? You analyze the diagram, you analyze the form, maybe you create the form, a scenario case. For this scenario case, okay, let's say for example, the system should how to say there is a spoofing text in the user login, okay, as in your tutorial there is a spoofing text in your user login. Okay, so what is the requirement the system should be able to identify the login is by the correct person. Understand? Okay, then you should have certain scenario and diagram form to support this. Understand? Okay, so technique work session definitely. Then who is the participant? The requirement engineer. Output scenario, diagram, template forms, okay, all those artifacts Step 4, perform risk assessment. Input is those use cases scenario regarding related to the security one, okay. Then from there you assess the risk assessment okay. You assess the risk, okay. Say what is the technique? Risk assessment method, analysis of anticipated risk against organizational risk tolerance, including threat analysis, analyze the possible threats, okay, that may happen for this security and so on. Participant, requirement engineer, risk expert, and stakeholder. The output is your assessment result. Okay, the output is your assessment result. Then come to step 5. Once you know what is the possible threat and what is the requirement for your security, okay, those artifacts, okay, then how are you going to elicit this requirement? Understand? Just now is from the diagram to support only this case scenario, okay, then you have to decide what kind of elicitation technique to elicit the security requirement. So from here, okay, what is the input, the goals, technique, expert from the stakeholder. Okay, the technique is the working session. Participant is the requirement engineer. Output is the technique that you have selected. You have to decide. Okay, what kind of technique you should use. Number 6, then in this step, you start to elicit the security requirement. In here, you may have your risk assessment result, selected technique, okay. What are the elicitation techniques we are going to use? Let's say interview, survey, joint application development. Okay, the participant will be a stakeholder okay, which is identified and selected by the requirement engineer. Okay, output is the initial cut at the security requirement. Okay, step 7. After you got the elicit the requirement, you got the requirement already, then you have to categorize it. Okay, and whether they are requirement or other kinds of constraint. Okay, so technique session, participant is the requirement engineer, and the output is the categorization of the requirement. You can categorize based on the severity. You can categorize, okay, by other factors. Let's say maybe the non-functional, functional, okay. Because this one is security, should be non-functional. You can categorize according to the security, okay, the seriousness, okay, the severity of the requirement, okay, or maybe you can base on the risk also okay. So number 8, prioritize. After you have the categorize already, you need to prioritize the requirement. Which security requirement is very crucial to you, okay. Then the input is the categorized requirement, okay, and then the output that is the document to show the priority of your requirement. Understand? Number 9, inspect requirement. Okay, you have your requirement already, then you inspect, okay, the requirement. Maybe you review the requirement. This is the requirement that is achievable? How you do it? Is it correct or not? Understand? Okay. So these are the 9 steps of square. Okay. So anything else I ask? Any question in class? Any question? Okay, no question. Now we look at how waterfall model. Okay, how are we going to implement square in the waterfall model? We all know that waterfall model is a sequence of stages. Okay, to develop our software. Okay, so since the waterfall model is a sequence process, implement the square is much more easier. Why? Because you look at the you look at the sentence here. Okay, during the requirement specification stage of waterfall model, okay. So in this case, you can implement the first 8 step of SQARE in these stages. But actually, the SQARE, okay, is happen in the requirement engineering in the waterfall model. Understand? Okay. This square is for security requirement one, okay. So therefore, the SQARE, most of the step will be happen in the requirement engineering stage of the SQARE waterfall model. Understand? Okay. So that's why he says step 1 to step 8, okay, will happen in the software requirement specification stages of the waterfall model. Then how about step 9? Step 9 is in between the requirement specification and the design. Understand? Okay? Now, developing artifacts such as misuse case is crucial to support the definition of security requirement. Although risk analysis assessment is typically absent from the standard of waterfall model. Waterfall model do not have risk assessment one. When you incorporate this SQL, okay, SQUAE, square, okay, then you may be able to perform the risk assessment, okay, for the security and the threats, okay. So you can imagine that I show you this diagram is here. Now look at this one. This is the waterfall model, and then the square model. Step 1 to step 8 will be here. Requirement analysis. Step 9 is in between software design and the requirements, as I said just now. You see that? Step 9 is to inspect your requirement. Understand? Okay. So this all the steps you can use the square in requirement analysis and specification. You get me, class? Okay? So it's much more easier to integrate the square in the waterfall model. Why? Because both of them is also a sequence process, sequence stages. Okay? They will have a so-called iteration thing. Okay? Now, continue. Okay? Continue. Yeah. Never mind, can we take 10 minutes break? Because we are going to end already our lecture. Okay, we take 10 minutes.